All right, this is the Canteen, except this is about 11-inch Canteen, but I'm making a mirror image of this, except it'll be 7 inches wide. This, of course, has got my um, name burned into it. This is just a piece of white pine. The ones that we're making are oak, or that I'm making now are oak. This has got the cork that slides in the side. This has been sealed with beeswax, so I can fill that with water. Beeswax is amazing stuff. It doesn't add any flavor to it. Seals all that up and it won't leak. If you ever do have issues with it, just put it in the oven a little bit, warm it back up, and give it a slosh around, and it'll, that's just warm enough to warm up your beeswax. Give it a slosh around, then let it cool off, and you're good to go. The stopper comes out of there. The string, whenever you turn it, it causes it to pull down, and go with that. So this next one's just going to be 7 inches, so it'll be considerably smaller. And then, of course, this has got the straps that I cut out of canvas. I don't know if I'll do that or put a piece of leather on it. So there we go. But that's the Canteen, and except the next one will be 7 inches smaller. All right, this is a Canteen 7-inch. We're using Aspire software, and this is going to be cut out on a CNC machine. And basically, this is the Canteen with all the parts. And what I've done is I've broken this down into 4 sheets. And this is one of the sheets. This is the ends only. These are a pocket. These are the rings with the different parts in it. And then this is just the rings only thing. So if I booger one up, then I can create that. I've already got these cut. I've already got these cut. Well, the insides, and now I'm getting ready to run this out in the shop here in a little bit. And this is a jig that I use to cut, and these boards fit inside the jig, and then they have the cam action that goes around them, and that's what holds all that down. On this particular layout, there's quite a few little tool paths that come into play, and what's fun about this is, once you work with these tool paths, you can, of course, be as intricate as you want it to be, all your different parts. This profile part center, and basically the green lights there show, what each one of these tool paths is getting ready to do. Let me go ahead and turn these off right here. And this one right here, small part center, it talks about cutting out all the centers and how it's doing that. And then these are the outsides, and each one of these are set up to cut differently, a little bit differently, and how deep down they go. For example, this is boards 3/4 of an inch, and it's going to be cutting down 76, so it cuts through. This one here is 0.7 inches, so it's going to leave a little bit of onion skin. And then this one right here is your ends, and that is like a dowel hole that's halfway through, so that's the knob. You put your dowel in there, your dowel in there and down there, and they self-line up to make the stopper for the unit. And then this is the center rings that cuts out, and then the outer rings that cut out. And they follow different, guidelines. Each one of these tools are set up just a little bit differently, and that's how this all goes together. Basically, when I get done cutting these out, it'll cut these center parts out. And there's a 1/4 inch, ring, so this would be a little bit under, 5.5 inches or so. And then all these parts will be, embedded in a piece of round wood, and then I'll onion skin that through probably what I'll do is I'll probably take a 1/4 inch drill bit and reaffirm these holes right here and get them out to where they're a good 1/4 inch. And because I did use a 1/8 inch end mill, and they're not as round as perfect as I want them to be, the 1/4 inch on here are fine because the end mill's 1/4 inch, but these are a little oblong. So I was pushing that oak pretty hard and getting that ready. Anyway, it'll cut all these parts. I'll run this through the drum sander, and then it'll onion skin, and then these parts will all fall out. So that's kind of what we got going on. then when you come over here to the ends only, this is a pocket, and it goes down through here with a 3/4 inch end mill, and it pockets that out. That's all that one does. I did all 6 boards at the same time with that one. And then this is the small parts, and these are only halfway through, so this is where your dowels slip in and they line up the rings, and that's all that does. And then that cuts out the outside. So basically in this operation, I would do this first one first, and it would go through there and do your tool path. And I did run all 6 canteens through that, and then I come back and I run all 6 through these 2 and combine them into a tool path. And then the rings up here, click up there, and these are just a little bit different. The rings are holes go all the way through. Of course, that's your center ring, and then your outer ring. And again, these are all set up. What I did end up doing is putting this all on a 1/4 inch end mill, and so I can just run it and it'll quickly cut them out. So this one here, if I need some of these real quick, it'll do it very quickly. And then I also combined this one here on these 2 here. They're 1/4 inch end mills, so I can run them and it'll clean them up pretty good. And of course, I run a 3/4 inch end mill on that. And so and this one here, pretty much it's the same kind of a deal. I ran the small parts there, 1/8 inch end mill, so I combined those 2. I cut out all the small parts, and I could probably have nested those parts down in here or out here in the other segments, and not been worried about it. I could have cut them with a 1/4 inch end mill, but I went ahead and did it with a 1/8 inch end mill. It didn't take that long. I think 12 minutes to cut all these out, and the centers, and cut them all out. So it didn't take all that long to do it that way, but that worked out good. And then of course I go down here to the of course that's 1/8 inch. So these 3 here were all cut. Then you go into 1/4 inch, and then the other 1/4 inch. The 1/4 inch bits don't break near as fast as 1/8 inch bits, so that's why I was limiting my 1/8 inch bit. Anyway, it did fine, and it came out just fine, and we got those parts going together. Of course, save this stuff to the thumb drive, and then take it out of the shop and get her done. Alright, I just started coming out this morning to look at what I've got done through the day yesterday, and basically what I've done is basically took a bunch of panels of oak, and for the biggest part, this is just the remnants of all these panels that I cut out. I just glued this thing back together, and I started off with a piece of pine and cut it first, and said, okay, hey, this is all going to work out just fine. And because it was a piece of old scrap pine from old shelf that I built 30 some odd years ago. But anyway, I just put the old pine back to use. And what this is the parts of a canteen. This is a 7-inch canteen. These are the ends. They basically will go together like that. They have a dowel hole in each side. This is halfway through. And then these are oak, and the cutouts, and basically the same kind of a deal. I've got 6 of them here, so I'm making 6 canteens on that deal. What I did is I ended up pocketing all 6 of them, and as I cut the blanks, I cut them 8 by about 15 and a half, and then I made this jig with a template that's the size of this, and then I cut some little 2-inch strips to go around it, and then I built that up to 3 layers tall. And this part right here has this inside that, so that was my jig cut. Then I stacked on and glued 2 pieces of stuff on top of my jig, and then of course these will have washers underneath them to bring them up to the height of that, and then there's a washer on top to keep the pressure even across the toggles. And basically what these do is whenever you turn them this way, it clears the port to lift up, and this holds it down. And like I said, I've done 12 of these panels, and it's basically just lift it out, put it in. And I generally cut it a little bit oversized, or I cut them on my vector so that I have a little bit of room in there. And what that does is allows me to get it in and out. And then I use a popsicle stick or a craft stick as a shim to get everything to come out. And so that works out good. Of course, it's cutting out all these little parts, that are coming out of that thing. And they're cutting them out. I don't really care about them, other than I'll put them in the trash and burn them up. But anyway, so I got all these different parts, and they were designed to go through there, and got all the way through on the back side, and then I left them onion skinned for the outer parts so that I can just run it through the sander, and then they'll come out and they should be pretty clean when I get ready to do that. The next step I'm doing on this is when I did this operation, the next step I'll do in there is I'll take out this bit here, and I'll put in a 1/4 inch bit and go down through there and clean it up with that, and that'll cut the rings, and then the inner ring and then the outer ring, and these parts right here in the center will come out in a circle. They fit inside the center of that area, and then there's 2 rings in that setup. So but anyway, that's basically set. These inner rings, all them little small parts basically fit inside this diameter right here, and so they're cut out of that. So we'll get 2 more rings on the outside that are cut all the way through, so they'll be just like a regular ring finger, and they only have just this part of it right here. So anyway, that's all my tool pass in action. They work pretty good. I did set my depths on my boards. Again, I left the outside parameters intact so that I can onion skin it. That keeps all the little parts in there. The ones in the center that cut out, they were basically cut a little bit different, the thickness of the wood and that kind of thing. So, and then these have a dowel alignment hole in them, so we'll do that, and we'll be good for that. So there's 6 of those already done, and they were all pretty much planed and the same size. So all these 12 panels are all basically the same size, so they fit right in the jig. And of course this is just the cutoffs and reusing that wood. So there we are, and the jig over here is working great. And as you saw when I parked it right at 0 and then at 0 height, so it remembers that, and then when you shut down it remembers that height and everything with that bit, so I could pick up and continue on with where I'm at. Anyway, so, and then I also keyed all my pieces here with an arrow, put a marker here and a marker here. That way whenever I reposition, because like on those over there, I basically did all 6 of them, and all I did was put a 3/4 inch bit, and I did all these. They take about 6 minutes to do a board, and then I just basically would take them out, put in another board. It would hollow this out, and I did that, and in about an hour's time I had all those hollowed out. And then I came back and I put the board back in the jig, and it cut these, and then it cut the rings with a 1/4 inch bit. And I'm sitting there looking at the peck and the drill there. This was all done with a 1/4 inch end mill. And then when you look at these holes were drilled with a 1/8 inch end mill. And so they were going round, and they're kind of little oblong. They're not perfectly round. And they were cutting on the inside of that. So, and I was moving at a pretty good clip. So, there's that. Anyway, you can see some of it. Now, if I run that through my sander, drum sander, that onion skin will peel off of there in no time flat. Of course, the rings, if they'll come out here, some of my rings are going to stay the same thickness. Everything's 3/4 of an inch. And I'll just run that through the old drum sander, put a new sleeve on the drum sander, and get ready to go.